evening. I'm Jerika Duncan. Here's what's happening right now.
Greenland's not for sale.
Thousands protest in Denmark and Greenland against President Trump's takeover threats.
Really angry about the whole situation.
Trump today firing back.
I'm Willie James Inman, traveling with the president in West Palm Beach, Florida. Details on the new economic pain coming for America's allies opposing Trump's land grab threats.
Also tonight, weathering the storm. ICE protesters in Minnesota return to the streets despite the brutal cold. Some clashing with pardoned January 6 rioters.
I'm Ian Lee in downtown Minneapolis with dueling demonstrations today as freezing temperatures make tensions even more hazardous.
The deadly big freeze, chilling millions this weekend.
I'm meteorologist Andrew Kozak. New snow and record cold in the east, while parts of the west suffer from drought this winter. Your forecast ahead.
All that, plus to the moon. The massive rollout for Artemis 2.
I'm Mark Strassman in Florida with the Artemis rocket heading to the launch pad. Soon, it will take astronauts to the moon.
This is the CBS Weekend News from New York with Jerika Duncan.
Good evening, everyone, and thank you for joining us on this Saturday. We are following several developing stories tonight, but we begin in Minnesota and the tense showdown over President Trump's immigration crackdown. Today, pro and anti-ICE demonstrators clashed in Minneapolis as the governor's office announced the National Guard had been mobilized and stood ready to assist state law enforcement. Adding to the mayhem, the freezing January weather. CBS's Ian Lee is in Minneapolis tonight and leads us off. Ian, how are things looking?
Jerika, it's brutally cold, feeling well below zero, but the deep freeze did not stop demonstrators today, protesters for and against the ICE crackdown in the state.
In America!
Today, new rage on the streets of downtown Minneapolis, sparked by protesters in support of the anti-immigration operation.
Not everybody deserves to be here.
Leading the cause, Jake Lang, a January 6 rioter convicted and then pardoned by President Trump. Why are you out here today?
The replacement of white Americans by Somalians in Minnesota is a tragedy.
His supporters today outnumbered by counter-protesters shouting for them to leave the city. Some 3,000 federal officers and ICE agents have been deployed to this state. More than 2,500 people arrested. Tensions still red hot after an ICE officer fatally shot Renee Good 10 days ago. Today, protesters said the Arctic blast helped their cause.
We're ready for this. This is just, again, normal winter for us.
This as a federal judge in Minnesota ordered immigration agents to stop using tear gas and detentions against peaceful protesters. The judge also ruling that agents cannot stop drivers or passengers without reasonable suspicion, and protesters can follow agents. Border Patrol Chief Gregory Bovino had this reaction today.
We're going to continue to use that minimum amount of force necessary to accomplish our mission.
The Justice Department is now investigating Minnesota Governor Tim Walz and Minneapolis Mayor Jacob Frey, accusing them of impeding federal immigration agents. Walz punching back, posting the only person not being investigated for the shooting of Renee Good is the federal agent who shot her. Jake Lang says that he was stabbed in the scuffle earlier today. Meanwhile, this detention center remains the flashpoint. We've seen several people arrested, as well as officers using irritants to disperse the crowd. Jerika?
Ian Lee for us tonight. Thank you. A new threat from President Trump in the standoff over Greenland. The president says he'll impose a 10% tariff on Denmark and 7 other European nations opposed to his takeover plans. Today, thousands rallied in Denmark and Greenland, as you see there, to send Trump a message that the territory is not for sale. Ramy Inocencio at our London bureau is tracking all the latest developments. Ramy.
Good evening. It's not often we see bipartisan support from Congress, but President Trump managed to push 10 members, Republican and Democrat, to fly to Denmark to say Greenland must stay linked to the kingdom. Across the country, mass protests. The theme, hands off Greenland.
Today, rare anti-American anger rippled across the Kingdom of Denmark. A friendship forged over 225 years, now fraying as President Trump insists he must have Greenland. But also in Copenhagen, another rarity, a bipartisan group of visiting U.S. lawmakers saying the president does not speak for all Americans.
I hope that the people of the Kingdom of Denmark do not abandon their faith in the American people.
Denmark's former ambassador to NATO called the Trump White House ungrateful.
I'm angry because I think that this is an affront to an ally that has stood up with the U.S. In Afghanistan, in Iraq, all over the world.
Is the White House being imperial in its ambitions?
The need for control and the need to expand the U.S., that sounds very much like imperialism in my eye.
Europe is pushing back too. French President Emmanuel Macron committed French troops to Greenland on Friday as Operation Arctic Endurance gets underway with 8 European allies to patrol Greenland's Arctic lands, waters, and skies. In Nuuk, the capital, protests today as well, with anger focused on the tiny U.S. consulate and its 4 employees.
We are not interested in being Americans.
And a blunt message Trump's followers can understand. Make America go away.
As for Trump's tariffs, the UK says they're completely wrong. France says that they're intimidation. Sweden says it's blackmail. And Jerica, Canada is concerned, too, that what Trump is doing could happen to them.
Ramy Inocencio reporting from London. Well, the new tariffs threat is also drawing criticism from members of Congress. CBS's Willie James Enman is in West Palm Beach, Florida, traveling with the president. Willie James, what's the latest there?
Well, Jerica, those new tariffs mark a significant escalation in President Trump's push to acquire Greenland, which he says is needed for U.S. national security. But not everyone in Washington agrees. Republican Senator from North Carolina Tom Tillis called the move bad for America and NATO, adding the idea of seizing territory away from an ally is beyond stupid.
And Willie James, there are some developments when it comes to Iran. The supreme leader there blaming the U.S. for those protests that we've reported on. What is the president saying about that?
Well, Jerica, today the president said it's time to look for new leadership in Iran.
There was new calm on the streets of Tehran this weekend, but evidence of the recent unrest and violent crackdown remains. Today, Iran's Ayatollah said, "We consider the U.S. president guilty, both for the casualties, for the damages, and for the slander he made against the Iranian nation." President Trump punching back, calling for an end to Khamenei's rule, adding, "The man is a sick man who should run his country properly and stop killing people." The exchange follows nationwide protests and a violent government crackdown. Thousands have been killed. President Trump had threatened to take action against the regime if it did not stop killing civilians, but on Friday praised it for sparing protesters.
Did Arab and Israeli officials convince you to not strike Iran?
Nobody convinced me. I convinced myself. You had yesterday scheduled over 800 hangings. They didn't hang anyone. They canceled the hangings.
And this week, satellite images showed the U.S. Navy aircraft carrier, the Abraham Lincoln, which was rerouted to the Middle East amid those ongoing tensions with Iran. Meanwhile, the White House says the president has a range of options at his disposal. Jerica.
Willie James Enman, thank you. Tonight, the Trump administration has 3 weeks to fix what a federal judge calls a deportation mistake and a bureaucratic fumble. 19-year-old college student Annie Lopez Beyoza was deported to Honduras during Thanksgiving after being detained at Boston's Logan Airport. Last night, Lopez Beyoza told me that there was a court order to let her stay in the United States.
I am no criminal and I have no criminal record. I just hope that I'm able to be given that chance to return and to continue living as a student.
Lopez Beyoza arrived in the U.S. with her parents when she was 8 years old. Well, to the weather now. Tonight, much of the east is in a deep freeze. This time-lapse video shows a snow squall slamming into Erie County, Pennsylvania today. The frigid cold dropping temperatures as far south as Florida. So when will it end? Let's check in with CBS News meteorologist Andrew Kozak.
Yeah, good evening, Jericho. We have cold air going as far south as the Gulf, and another shot of Arctic air coming in later on this week where you see the blue. Places like Michigan likely to see wind chills between 30 and 35 below zero by the time we get into the heart of the upcoming week. Snow, that's also something we've been tracking. Round 1 out of New England today, but then we get into your Sunday and a coastal low forms. That's going to send us an additional 2 to 4 inches on the northeast side of things. But on the southeast, we're likely to see some accumulating snow as far south as the Florida Panhandle. Places like Jacksonville getting in on the cold, by the way. On Friday, they hit a record low of 22 degrees. Haven't seen temperatures that cold on the 16th since 1927. More shots of cold air coming in this week with many areas across the east, 10 to 20 degrees below average. Monday's cold, Tuesday's even more colder, where we have temperatures across the Great Lakes in the teens and single digits. We've been talking about the cold and the snow. Colorado, not seeing much snow at all. 60% less than average so far this year. 11% of the trails open. And Jericho, if we don't get some good accumulating snow, wildfire risk is going to become elevated as we head into the next few weeks.
Definitely need that snow. Andrew Kozak, thank you. Tonight, a big step forward for NASA's Artemis II mission. CBS's Mark Strassman is at the Kennedy Space Center with the space agency's latest milestone. Mark.
Hey, Jerica, tonight the Artemis II rocket is in place on the launch pad, and seeing it take all day to get there today was like watching the crawl of rush hour traffic, but with only one vehicle.
Inch by inch, America's moon rocket lumbered along its 4-mile commute from the Vehicle Assembly Building to Launch Pad 39B. The top cruising speed of NASA's crawler, 1 mile per hour. No surprise, considering its cargo, the SLS rocket and its attached mobile launcher combined weigh more than 17 million pounds. Up close, you get a sense of scale, how massive this thing is. About as tall as a 32-story building and taller than the Statue of Liberty.
Man, this rocket's big. This rocket's powerful.
Charlie Blackwell Thompson, the Artemis II launch director, told us getting the rocket to the launch pad clears a big hurdle, but hardly the last one.
There are a number of things that have to work right on launch day. You test as many of those things as you can.
You're not going to fly until you're ready.
We're not going to fly till we're ready. And the hardware will tell you when it's ready.
From Florida, the SLS rocket will launch Orion and a crew on a 10-day mission, flying 250,000 miles away, looping around the moon and back to Earth. Its crew includes 4 astronauts, 3 Americans and 1 Canadian. The mission's goal, test Orion's systems and pave the way for Artemis III, a moon landing mission. Mission Commander Reed Wiseman.
We are human operators on scene as we head out to the moon, 250,000 miles from Earth, and we are really there to take care of the spacecraft, to work with Mission Control in Houston and get this mission accomplished.
For the rocket on the pad, the next big hurdle will be a fuel test on February 2nd, and if that goes well, Artemis II could be good to go for launch on February 6th at the earliest. Jerica?
So exciting. Mark Strassman, thank you. Tonight, a political first in Virginia. Abigail Spanberger was sworn in as the state's first ever female governor at the inauguration. Spanberger broke with tradition and wore white, the unofficial color of the women's suffrage movement. Well, straight ahead on the CBS Weekend News, feeling the squeeze, how this viral video showing this tight space has now forced a big change. Also, a gas line explosion leaves hundreds out in the cold, and a celebration today honoring a counterculture legend. A reversal from a major North American airline. WestJet is now canceling its new seat layout on its aircraft. CBS's Allie Bauman joins us from New York, and it appears, Allie, a lot of these passengers were not feeling this at all.
That's right, Jerica. WestJet, a partner of Delta Airlines, says it added seats to ease ticket prices. Instead, it's fueling passenger frustration.
Dad, can you just straighten out your legs there?
Impossible.
This video of a couple crammed into the seats of their WestJet flight took off on social media with over 1 million views since their daughter posted it 3 weeks ago.
If they're selling a seat for a human, it should fit a human. It's inhumane, basically, to make people travel like this.
WestJet, Canada's second largest carrier, says it added an extra row of seats to nearly 24 aircraft since October, claiming it would help bring down ticket prices. The reconfiguration removed about 2 inches of space between rows.
How can you sit like that for like a big long-haul flight?
Now, in an about-face, WestJet will remove those added seats, its CEO saying it's in our DNA to try new products. At the same time, it is just as important to react quickly if they don't meet the needs of our guests. Former National Transportation Safety Board Chair Robert Sumwalt.
The low-cost carriers are actually trying to cram as many people in an airplane as they possibly can.
Spirit Airlines has long had seats that don't recline, and Frontier advertises its seats as pre-reclined.
Can having an airplane seat that tight be dangerous in an emergency?
It certainly stands to reason that if you decrease the amount of space between the seats, it's going to make it more difficult to someone to get out in the event of an emergency.
WestJet does not have a timeline for when the work will be completed. Sharika, there are no requirements in the U.S. for airplane seat size or for space between seats.
Ali Bauman for us in New York, thank you. Still ahead on the CBS Weekend News, a tribute to a legend. San Francisco Deadheads say goodbye to Bob Weir. Today, the United Nations General Assembly marked 80 years since its founding. Delegates returned to the same building where they first met in London. The diplomatic gathering happening 4 months after the end of the Second World War. Well, tonight, repairs are underway in Pine County, Minnesota, after an explosion caught on camera. Authorities say a natural gas pipeline blew up on Friday. No injuries were reported, but some 600 homes were without heat. No word on what caused the blast. Tonight, a tribute for Grateful Dead co-founder Bob Weir. A huge crowd turned out in San Francisco to sing and dance at Weir's public memorial service and reflect. The celebration marking the impact of Weir and the band considered the godfathers of the counterculture movement. Weir died last week at age 78. Next up on the CBS Weekend News, the unexpected way a dentist is giving her patients a reason to smile. But first, a look back at this day in history.
This Chevrolet Corvette and the other customized models are not for sale yet.
Gary Mark Gilmore was executed at dawn today by a Utah firing squad.
It is now almost exactly 24 hours since the first bursts of light over Baghdad confirmed to us that the United States and other nations had indeed taken the war to Saddam Hussein.
We end tonight in Lafayette, California, where we found a new source of comfort for that visit to the dentist. In our weekend journal, CBS's Itai Had tells us how it helps patients relax one tail wag at a time.
Over the years, Dr. Rachel Forer
Good morning.
has found plenty of ways to take the sting out of going to the dentist. Laughing gas, numbing agents, all the modern fixes designed to manage pain.
Going to the dentist can be a very fight or flight reaction.
But even with all the medical advances, fear still had a way of creeping in.
You doing okay?
Until Dr. Forer realized the simplest solution was right there all along. It's all natural and comes with 4 legs and a tail. Meet Pearl, a 5-year-old therapy dog who climbs into your lap and takes a bite out of anxiety.
I'm guessing when you were at dental school, you weren't anticipating this.
No, I wasn't.
Therapy dogs have been comforting people for years in hospital wards, schools, and now dental offices. Today, Pearl is here for 13-year-old Lucy, who's getting 3 teeth pulled.
Should we expect to see more therapy dogs at dentist offices?
Absolutely.
Danielle Ellington, an associate professor at Loma Linda University's School of Dentistry, co-authored a study on therapy dogs in dental offices. She says it's more than just fluff.
Getting laughing gas or nitrous oxide, we noticed that those numbers went down because really what the dentist is treating in those situations is anxiety.
There are some things to consider, including cleanliness, allergies, and the well-being of the dogs. Pearl is a Samoyed, a breed that's considered hypoallergenic and is formally trained. For Lucy, it was just what the doctor ordered.
Feeling better?
All 3 teeth were extracted in one visit.
Feels really good.
Because sometimes a canine in your lap might just be the best way to fix the canines in your mouth.
Good girl.
Itai Had, CBS News, Lafayette, California.
Bye-bye. Whatever makes you feel better. Well, that is the CBS Weekend News for this Saturday. Tomorrow on Face the Nation, Margaret Brennan's guests include DHS Secretary Kristi Noem and Minneapolis Mayor Jacob Frey. For now, I'm Jerika Duncan in New York. Have a great night, and we hope to see you back here tomorrow.